What is going on, guys? Hope you guys are doing well. Want to talk about how I've been feeling with the new TTK changes in our 6.2 update. Talk about what I like and what I don't like about it, with you guys doing the same down the comments below. Been having, for the most part, pretty positive reaction to this. Actually been enjoying what they've done. It's been nice to see guns like the FG42 actually be usable again. The FG42 feels back to that real high rate of fire, close range beast of an LMG that it was. It was heavily affected, of course, by some of our previous TTK updates because they were focused on balancing weapons from the rate of fire perspective rather than the type of weapon class that the gun falls under. So because of the FG42 having a pretty high rate of fire for the LMG class, it suffered greatly. Now, though, it feels much more like how it was, even though its values are slightly different originally from our 5.0 update. That was just right before we had all the 5.2 and 5.2.2 changes. So we had a range of 4 to 6 BTK, and now that range has been slightly changed to 4 to 7 BTK, which has one extra value to it. Now, those values are only taking effect at the 30 to 40 meters range, so everything closer is having the exact same values as originally in our 5.0 update. And again, that was before all the drastic TTK changes. It's only when the range starts to get extended is when you feel the slight difference for the FG42. So when using it, I can still get the mid to further range kills. This is something that was nearly impossible with our 5.2 update. But now it's, again, back to more its normal feeling. It's crazy to think that it was actually 13 shots to kill someone at those far range distances with the FG42. Okay, now it's back down to 7. It's not to 6 where it was before. But you're only going to see that variable change really at the 30 to 40 meters, right? So 30, 40 meters now is at 6, so that's originally how it was. And it's crazy to think back at the 5.2, the 30, 40 meter range was 9 BTK, and that, again, is still too much. So this will help having less of that overwhelming feeling, I think, for those kind of really quick deaths that it seems like DICE was reporting that people were still struggling with on Battlefield. So it makes people feel like they're dying less quickly and they can have a little time to react. Now, it's not going to completely change the meta and, completely resolve that issue of people feeling like they're dying too quick on the battlefield, but it's going to alleviate a little bit of those drastic aspects that our TTK has had since the launch of it, right? So we haven't seen much changes. I know they tried to change it originally, way back right when Battlefield 5 first launched during that Christmas time. They didn't touch it for a full year, then tried it again, and they had reason for it. I can see their point of view, but clearly they took it way too far. However, though, I do think that their attempt of trying to recognize that it still needed to be tweaked a little bit, and that's at least the point of view that I came from, is that I think, yeah, our TTK still needed to be worked on. I still think the gunplay needs to be balanced, because overall, I don't think that Battlefield has been working since basically its launch. I think the game's been bugged for its performance, and the gameplay has not been balanced, and I think every aspect needs to be looked at. Now, I mean, should we be changed it that drastically? Clearly not. But I like more where it's at. It'll alleviate the pressure a little bit without not changing the meta completely, destroying what we've been basically experiencing for a year now, right? So that kind of messes everything up. And again, liking where they're going at it right now. I've been especially liking where they've landed everything for the SMGs, where again, they moved the variable up by 1 for the BTK. But because these are closer range weapons, that extra bullet moves up this time to 20 to 30 meters, unlike what we saw for the LMGs, where it was the 30 to 40 meter range. Again, that makes sense. They're SMGs, right? They should dominate those close range battles, but trying to extend these out to being that mid to further range weapon, it shouldn't be the gun you should be using, right? You should go use an LMG. So that's what they kind of did there, and I appreciate that. I think that works really nice. So if I want to go pick up still the Type 2A, it's still a solid beast in my opinion, those close range battles. I mean, I understand they increased the recoil to it, but when I was using it, it's really not all too bad still. It's still a pretty good go-to gun in my opinion for the SMGs. Now, is it the all-round gun for the SMG class? I don't know. Probably not. I mean, a little bit I've been trying to extend the range out. I think I'd rather be using maybe like the MP40 or something else. More of those mid-range SMGs that are out there. But for the most part, I at least like that they put them in their little box made them more those close range weapons, and allowed you to choose other guns to be using, which I think is, again, putting these guns more in their place and balancing the weapons much better than what it was before. I think the big winner out of all this has actually been the increased muzzle velocity for the sniper guns. That's the big winner out of all this right now. If everything was kind of nice to bring everything back to what it was originally, while tweaking a little bit of the guns and not making them probably as powerful in those long range battles, but then really not touching anything with the sniper guns, but only increasing them, I think those are the big winners. But really, when it comes down to it, whether you think that was necessary for the recon class to have or not, in my opinion, I would much rather be dying in further range battles from a sniper gun than dying from something like a LMG or especially an SMG that's killing me across the map. So that's kind of how I feel about it. Is it going to be absolutely perfect? I don't know. Probably not. I think when it comes to balancing weapons, I actually think it's a constant thing you have to do when it comes to development. I think that's just how it is. If you want to balance certain things, you got to be constantly actively tweaking it. Should you be tweaking it as much, like I said earlier, to where it was as crazy as it was in 5.2? No. And I think the biggest mess up out of all this is the fact that we don't have a community test environment to throw these radical changes in there and to see how they play out before dropping into the main game. So that's kind of like the big, I think, lesson learned. And I don't know if DICE is going to get it or not, but that's kind of the big thing for me. I think that was kind of the big mess up on DICE's part, was not to have a CT. If you're going to change things so drastically, at least test it in the CT, because, I mean, look at it now. They changed up the variables only by 1, right? And then they, you know, kind of shift their perspective. Instead of it being focused through the rate of fires of the gun, they're focusing on the class of weapons that it falls under, right? So it's like, okay, it doesn't seem all too much of a change still. So it feels like, did we really need to go through all that, where we could have maybe tested things out in the community test environment and not exasperate the community as much? So that's kind of the way I see it. But yeah, overall, I think the recon class weapons kind of were the big winners. But at the end of the day, whether I feel like it's justified or not to go change that up, because snipers, you know, for the most part, do feel pretty powerful already before these changes, and now kind of even playing a little more with the recon class, it's pretty impressive to see how well the bullet velocity for these guns actually is. I mean, you just shoot people and it just, the bullets are instantly right there, right? So that makes it pretty nice, especially when players are like running and you have to really be concerned about like leading your shots and things like that. But regardless, I would much rather be dying to sniper guns across the map than dying from, again, an SMG. So yeah, that's kind of how I feel about it. Feel free to let me know what you guys think, though, down in the comments below. I think this is kind of interesting stuff that's happened. It's kind of nice to know, at least this is, for the most part, seems like the community's been enjoying it. Again, you might have things you disagree on. Again, all cool to hear what you guys have to say. There's no problem with that. Just make it a positive discussion down below. I think at the end of the day, I'm just happy my Type 11 LMG got a bullet velocity increase, because, yeah, I've just been loving this gun since it first came out, and just happy to see that it's just only been improved. But that is it for you guys today. Again, I always appreciate you guys being here. I am Living, and I'll catch you guys again later.